Joe Biden. Thank God he's turning America around, reintroducing morals, values, protecting workers, and making sure Saudi Arabia are a pariah, quite rightly, because of the murder of that journalist Jamal Khashoggi. That's why he's made members of the Saudi royal family an absolute pariah by pushing for them to get immunity from prosecution. Hold on, mate, that doesn't make sense. They're all fucking liars! Hello there, you 6 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me on this voyage towards truth and freedom. Turn on that notification bell right now because the algorithm is not your friend, baby, and platforms like this one want to feed you mainstream media mush so that your brain dissolves into nothing and you're a compliant little sheep fed down into the paddock of ignorance where you'll only get dumb pellets of mainstream nonsense. Whereas here, we give you the real deal. For example, Joe Biden, who liberals celebrated the ascendancy of because of pledges to, for example, protect railroad workers, because of pledges to, for example, not start a nuclear war, because of pledges to turn Saudi Arabia into a pariah, is reneging on those promises. It wouldn't be anything to do with oil deals and weapons deals, would it? No, that would be so cynical. I mean, that would mean that Joe Biden is just another corporatized president running a corporatized country who doesn't care about ordinary people. And that can't be real, can it? Because that would mean that everything you read in the mainstream media, everything you see on mainstream TV was absolute lies, and that can't be the case, can it? But let's just remind ourselves of the pledge he made back in the giddy, happy old, silly old heydays of campaigning for presidency. Remember, it was all good stuff in the news then. No one talked about laptops then because that was a conspiracy theory back then, and this was conspiracy fact.
The CIA has concluded that the leader of Saudi Arabia directed the murder of U.S.-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi. President Trump has not punished senior Saudi leaders. Would you?
Yes. And I said it at the time. Khashoggi was, in fact, murdered and dismembered, and I believe in the order of the Crown Prince. And I would make it very clear, we were not going to, in fact, sell more weapons to them. We were going to, in fact, make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are.
Yeah! Right, make my pariah. I don't need any more oil deals or any weapons. Let's see what's in the news now. What? A US judge has dismissed the lawsuit against Saudi Arabia's Mohammed bin Salman that claimed he conspired to kill journalist Jamal Khashoggi, saying the Crown Prince was entitled to sovereign immunity despite credible allegations that he was involved in the murder. Oh, that's really weird because that sounds like the opposite of a pariah, doesn't it? Seems like you say you're going to make someone a pariah when you need to be elected. You say that a laptop's a conspiracy theory when you need to be elected. Then once you're elected, oh yeah, that laptop was real. Hey you, we're going to be needing some oil. Need some weapons. Judge John Bates, a US District Court judge with a long history of presiding over cases involving national security, acknowledged uneasiness in making the decision. Listen, I'm just going to make this decision that's hypocritical and against electoral pledges. Imagine being that judge. Hear ye, order, order, now to get to the bottom of this case. Was he culpable or was he not? I've got a wig on, I've got robes. He's been granted immunity by the Biden administration. Well, everyone might as well just go home then. But I've still got my wig. Judge John Bates, a US District Court judge with a long history of presiding over cases involving national security, acknowledged uneasiness in making the decision, but said that his hands were in effect tied by the Biden administration's recent recommendation that Prince Mohammed be given immunity. So they simply bypassed the legal system that's supposed to administer justice. Easily done. And necessary if you need to do oil and arms deals.
The Crown Prince has been sued in the U.S. by the fiancé of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. He was murdered in Saudi's Istanbul consulate in 2018, and U.S. intelligence believes MBS ordered the killing. Meantime, for months...
Hey! Good ordering of a killing. Allegedly. Sir, you're fist bumping with someone who we said we were going to make a pariah.
The Biden administration has been pushing Saudi Arabia to increase oil production amid high gas prices.
The dismissal of the civil claim against Prince Mohammed and two of his close associates means the Saudi heir can now travel to the US and other jurisdictions freely. Although the case was not brought by US prosecutors with the power to arrest him, if it had been allowed to proceed, the case would have created a legal minefield for the Crown Prince, and if he had been found guilty, could have put his financial interests in the US in jeopardy. Aha, now we understand how power operates. Prior to an election, pariah. Because that's the right thing to say. After an election, do it like, mate, actually, because you've got financial interests that align quite nicely with our own interests. Saudi dissidents and critics of Prince Mohammed have previously expressed grave concerns about any possibility of the Crown Prince being granted immunity, saying any such decision would seal the aura of impunity around the 37-year-old prince and could be seen as offering him a license to target other journalists and dissidents around the world. Well, a little bit, because if you allegedly have one one journalist killed for reporting negatively against you, and then you're granted immunity, it does seem that maybe down the line, if any other journalists, they think you might kill them. Oh, you think just because I've been granted immunity for the murder of Jamal Khashoggi that we would murder other dissenters allegedly? That murder of Jamal Khashoggi was part of a surprise for your birthday to ensure that it ran smoothly. Oh, you're just like your father, who we've also granted immunity. Two sources close to members of the Saudi royal family administration confirmed to The Intercept that Saudi had asked the Biden administration grant MBS immunity. At the same time, the US wanted the kingdom to turn up oil production. The request for sovereign immunity was a ploy, Dawn, a non-profit funded by Jamal Khashoggi, wrote, laying out a simple argument. Head of state immunity is typically reserved for a country's leader, which in the case of Saudi Arabia is its king, MBS's father. King Salman, senior to Crown Prince Mohammed, is head of state. There can't be two heads of state. They're only under an obligation to grant immunity to the head of state. This dude ain't even the head of state. They've really had to push the boat out and stretch the boundaries of what's typical in international diplomacy to grant this immunity. Oh, there's nothing we could do. Our hands were tied. He's the head of state. Rules is rules. He's not the head of state. You could have him prosecuted if you wanted to, and he would be subject to the judicial procedures that would provide justice normally. Oh, I'm getting very tired. Hunter, we beat Big Pharma this year. We didn't beat Big Pharma either. I'm going back to sleep. In August, the Biden administration approved a potential multi-billion-dollar arms sale to Saudi Arabia worth an estimated $3 billion. So these oil deals and arms deals are a simple side note, an irrelevant distraction to the procession of justice and immunity and just good old-fashioned international diplomacy. Is it me? Or does the future feel more insecure and uncertain? Wars, pandemics, lies, trickery. My cats keep having kittens. The last one's personal. For those who are in the United States, there is a way to secure your hard-earned nest egg. American Hartford Gold make it easy to protect your savings and retirement accounts with physical gold and silver. With one phone call, they can have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door, or inside a qualifying retirement account like your IRA or 401k. American Hartford Gold is the highest rated firm in the US with an A+ rating from the BBB and thousands of satisfied clients. Right now, they will give you up to $5,000 of free silver on your first qualifying order. This offer is only for US customers. Call 866-505-8315. That's 866-505-8315, or simply text BRAND to 998899. Get up to $5,000 of silver and protect your future in this crazy, crazy world with some solid precious metals literally made in stars. Other pledges that Biden has shamelessly broken include domestic pledges to ordinary workers, who he claimed he would support in their quest to have a mere 7 sick days per year.
It's a national disgrace that millions of our fellow citizens don't have a single day of paid sick leave available to them.
What I'm always surprised by is that they know what is right, because they say what is right in order to get you on board. You should have sick pay. You should make Saudi Arabia a pariah for the murder of that journalist. You should support people's right to express themselves however they want to. We should have a fairer society. We should take care. They just say whatever's necessary to get whatever they want. What do you want to hear right now? I don't know, that I look nice and that you love me. You do look nice, and I do love you. What's that feeling on my bottom? An arm steel.
I've supported paid sick leave for a long time. I'm going to continue that fight till we succeed.
In getting into government, then I will drop that fight. Last week, Joe Biden urged Congress to pass a law to block the first national rail strike in 30 years and impose a deal that includes just one paid sick day. The move is the latest and possibly starkest example of the chasm between Biden's pro-worker rhetoric during his campaign and presidency and the numerous pro-corporate actions he has taken in the White House. As part of his 2020 presidential campaign, Biden pledged that he would ensure all workers have at least 7 paid sick days. The more you look at this presidency, the more it is revealed that there is nothing unique and special about it. All of the excitement, all of the fanfare. What does it involve? Potential manipulation of the election through repressing stories that would be unfavourable to the campaign, pledges that have not been fulfilled, grandstanding as a friend of ordinary Americans and workers and controlling farmer prices, no delivery on any of these things. What kind of government are you electing if whenever they can't deliver on the promises they make, they go, oh, my hands are tied, there's nothing I can do, then the whole system is is pointless then, isn't it? And that's ultimately what we're delivering you as a message. There is a requirement for radical systemic change. Neither of the parties that you could possibly vote for will deliver that change. You need to participate in a different style of politics, or you're just going to get this for the rest of your potentially quite short lives. The US Senate voted to deny 125,000 rail workers a handful of paid sick days that would have cost the equivalent of just 4 days of recent profits made by Senators' railroad industry donors. What a coincidence. The cost of paid sick days for this year, roughly $321 million, would be less than half the amount that a single railroad tycoon, Warren Buffett, funneled to his family foundations last week. Oh, yeah, but Warren Buffett, he's a good guy. He's a socialist guy. He's a liberal guy. He's helping out those foundations. There's definitely no tax benefits to that. It's more efficient than just helping them through giving them sick days. I feel I'm so ill. Well, get to fucking work, safe in the knowledge that the Buffett Foundation has just received your money. Oh, that's good news. Night-night. While opposing a plan that would have required them to spend $320 million to give workers 7 paid sick days, the main railroad companies raked in more than $7 billion in profits and paid out over $1.8 billion in dividends in a year where they and their lobbying groups spent more than $13 million lobbying Congress. Much of the corporate media's coverage of the looming rail strike has focused on how the work stoppage would make a slowing economy worse and cause havoc over the holidays. So we can see that the mainstream media is always looking out for the rights of ordinary Americans, not just propping up corporate interests, drawing a veil over the disingenuity and downright dishonesty of reneged upon government pledges. The mainstream media, your friend.
A rail strike is one of the most disruptive and expensive things that can happen to an economy.
A rail shutdown or strike would disrupt supply chains.
Can't do strikes. It's not good to strike. Why are they not telling the other side of the story? People that are working hard, without support, asking for just a handful of sick days per year. What side are you on? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat.
A strike means food prices could skyrocket.
I mean, this is playing right into Putin's hands. He's going to love this. Putin will.
Many experts are saying would be an economic catastrophe.
That could mean a big shortage and massive price hikes. Even gas prices could increase.
Your dick is going to turn mauve.
And it also could cost the economy $1 billion within the first week.
That would cripple the economy.
One boy's tit fell off.
Are you and your members willing to stop the rails, in effect, and accept those costs to the U.S. economy?
Now, I know in your country you've got a complex history with socially responsible politics, but how else are workers going to have any influence in their own lives with a government and a media that, ironically, is railroading them right out of history?
Do you believe a strike is worth it if it cripples the U.S. economy and costs up to $2 billion a day?
More than $2 billion per day.
Is it worth it?
See how the media does the job of the state and corporate interest. There's no mention of $1.8 billion in dividends. Why are they not reporting on that? Why are they saying, well, I suppose, some of the profits, for example, from these companies could go to those workers.
And on top of all of that, the holidays are right around the corner.
Also, you bastards, you're ruining Christmas. You're fucking striking Grinches.
It's a little less than a month right before Christmas here.
Especially right before the holidays.
Why don't you just take baby Jesus and kick him in his dick?
President Biden warning if that happened, it would devastate the economy if we had a strike like that.
It would devastate it. It's almost as bad as Putin. Look at how they frame information for you. Not one mention of there are huge dividends, incredible profits are being made. Those profits should find their way into the hands of the people that are working and toiling in order for the services to operate. We've been conditioned and trained to such a degree that even the words start to be offensive to you. You start to see reality in the way that they want you to see reality. Yeah, it's coming up to Christmas, man. The strike's going to hurt the goddamn economy. Well, if we don't support one another, we're going to be annihilated. And that's going to hurt, not the economy, but your life.
So joining me now to talk about this and a lot more is Bank of America.
We need an objective perspective on this, okay? Now, how are we gonna get an unbiased view on profiteering railroad companies that have made billions and given out billions in dividends? Also, we've got to as well bear in mind the rights of these workers who currently only have 1 sick day a year. Should we get the head of a bank in? Yeah! The head of a bank. What about someone from the military-industrial complex? Yeah, get one of those in as well. Why not?
It's Brian Moynihan, chairman and CEO of one of the biggest banks in the world.
Biggest bank in the world. He's not going to be sympathetic. He doesn't know what it's like to work on a railroad, feel too unwell to go in a couple of times a year. Well, when I'm at the bank, I'm just trying to drag myself in. Come fair weather or shine, I'm there fat catting away every single day. And maybe if you want a sick day, perhaps you should run one of the world's biggest banks. With Democrats in full control of Congress for just a few more weeks, Biden could be using this moment to push lawmakers to pass the party's landmark union rights legislation or implement implement a national paid leave policy. Instead, he called on Democrats and Republicans alike to side with highly profitable railroad companies and crush their workers. When it comes to granting immunity to Saudi royalty, the rules can be bent. When it comes to helping ordinary Americans, the very ordinary Americans that throughout the campaign, we're going to help you fair and just. That Trump, he was a bastard, wasn't he? He was an animal. We're going to make Saudi Arabia a pariah. We're going to make things better with nuclear tensions around the world. And we are going to support the rights of workers. We beat Big Pharma this year. Look at reality and look at how it's sustained by a compliant media and a corporatized state. And if we don't stand up to it, if we don't find new ways of confronting this corruption, it's going to get worse and worse until we're all annihilated. That's the news, baby. Although it is just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think in the chat. If you like this video, have a look at either of these. Remember, turn on the notification bell because the algorithm is just going to feed you mainstream media bullshit, turning your mind into mush. If you enjoyed this, watch some Rumble every day where we're live. But remember, subscribe, like, and join us every day. Stay free.